Hello y'all. Welcome to part 3 of my Austrian Empire Hitler Path playthrough in the Hearts of Iron 4 mod Red Flood. In part 2, political instability within the Austrian Empire saw its leader, Franz Joseph II, try to get the nation through the crisis by appealing to the right-wing authoritarian AHVP. And right now we're doing the focus subdue White Prague, which will remove several buildings and just infrastructure out of Monrovia and Bohemia, but also add a civilian factory and infrastructure to Lower and Upper Austria, and we'll get an event on that very soon. So we have our army busy watching Hungary. Subdue White Prague is done. Here's 2 new divisions for Austria. Give them to Erwin Rommel, who is the commander of our force. And I do not like being surrounded by the whatever this faction is called, the German faction, the Rotfront. It's very concerning to be there on all sides. Subduing White Prague. Let's read this here. It says the chaos from Vienna has spread north as many citizens of Prague came to the streets chanting revolutionary slogans. A plan to alleviate the northern situation was drawn up by Ludwig von Mises, one of His Imperial Majesty's most brilliant advisors. Mises argues that at the core of the protest in Prague lay not economic reasons, but national ones. In his mind, the Czech national movement was hijacked by the communists from Germany to destabilize our country, and the best way to get rid of it is to appease it. He proposes that we finish the plan of federalization, fully recognizing the autonomy of the Bohemian crown, and thus calming down many Czech nationalists. However, a voice in the Reichsrat has risen in opposition. Another rising star of Austrian politics, Adolf Pozol, virulently smacks down on any attempts of federalization, framing the appeasers of the Czech movement as anti-German traitors. Hearing of Mises' proposal, he has called the Kaiser a slave, oh my goodness, and urged all of his patriots to take action against the attempts of reform. While we could just ignore it and proceed with the plan, Pozol has gained considerable respect and fame among our German population, especially in worker circles. Getting into open conflict with him might worsen the situation in Vienna, with another anti-imperial faction arising. After all, if it comes to the worst in Prague, we can always send the army to shoot at the Czechs. That's pretty bad, okay, but whatever. We can't lose support at home, fold the Pozol. So that is that. Yeah, that's pretty. The Austrian Empire, Austria in general, at this time's not doing too well. So now let's complete a Faustian bargain. Read that real fast. Pozol has been our ally in the wake of the assassination, but it is known that he has no love for the House of Habsburg and views them as an obstacle to nationalist aspirations. As more pieces are taken off the political chessboard by our reforms and purges, his position grows stronger. Some reckoning with Adolf is due. Rather, we keep him at arm's length and let him serve as our new royal opposition, or tie ourselves to some of his German nationalist aspirations. An official alliance would be invaluable, but the cost may be too great. The time has come to choose. We gotta wait for this to be done, come on. Won't take too long, I think. So it's only a 35-day long focus. And how's our divisions going along? Oh, research tree. My bad, what am I doing? I'm being inefficient here. Don't be inefficient, get improved infantry equipment 1. Come on. Select a technology to research. I always forget about this. What do we go with? Maybe grab... No, that's way too far ahead. A Faustian bargain is done. Get artillery upgrades. Yes, get those. That's too far ahead. Air. Tactical bombers? Sure, get those. Do all that, please. And now in the focus tree, let's complete a Danubian burial. And that will modify... Oh, we have an event here to vote. A Faustian bargain. In the chaos that arose after Emperor Karl's death, one group distinguished themselves as brave warriors against the Red Menace. Adolf Pozol's Ardeutsche Heimat und Volkspartei, the nationalist militias of the AHVP, walked down the streets to face the traitors and fight, this being a blessing to our imperial government. Yet, while the AHVP's young men shout the name of God by, charging the battle, they utter another name, much more disturbing to our calls, that of Germany. Pozol hasn't been hiding his distaste toward the cosmopolitan society of the Viennese aristocracy and what he calls the decadence of our dear Habsburg dynasty. Instead, he calls for a nationalist republic that will wage war to destroy communism once and for all. Thus, many of the conservative and liberal statesmen of our monarchy discourage His Majesty from getting closer to these wreckers, warning that giving them key positions on the street might lead them with enough audacity to take action against our empire. Yet the decision remains in the hands of the Emperor. Will Otto decide to grant official approval to the HVP's anti-communist struggle, or will he be careful and keep distance from the potential traitors? And now let's ally with Pozol. So it seems like Adolf Pozol, who is, I'll talk more about him later maybe if he ever comes into power in this part of the playthrough, he seems like a very Catholic pan-Germanist, a Catholic nationalist of Austria with pan-Germanic ambitions. So a Danubian burial is nearly done. We had to fortify our border and fortify our homeland. This will modify the Russia vengeance national spirit and also give us a few military factories. At least one focus will do that. The other one will give us more political power gain per day and stability, I believe. So how is this division group going? Good. Should I increase the amount of... How many troops we got here? Let me add one more artillery. Get them artillery, yeah. No, it's too much. Just get them infantry, yeah. Whoops, there we go. So, how's artillery pieces going? They exist. I don't know, I was thinking of putting artillery in here. Please, so I don't know, let's go with support artillery, yeah. We're not gonna have the biggest army in the world, but they might as well be good quality. We need artillery pieces now. Of course we do. Of course, steel. I need steel. Who do I get steel from? Can I get some steel from the German Socialist Republic? Sure, they won't mind. Thank you for the steel. A Danubian burial is done. Now let's fortify our border. Get that focus completed. It says here, though our so-called White Terror has been noted with much gnashing of teeth across the border, it appears that our enemies were in no shape to stop us. This won't last forever. With the quieting of the internal threat, however, our forces can be better deployed to deal with the external one. Our soldiers will be pleased to have a home front they can depend upon to rally behind them in the coming struggle. And that will give us a couple military factories. And there's a war over in not Central Asia, but we have a war over here in China between the Anhui clique and the Mongolian People's Army, it seems, and they formed a faction with Transbaikal. Interesting. Or no, did they? What did they do? They formed a faction with the Altai Confederation. That's what they did. What's that faction called? That is the Pan-Mongolian Federation. Interesting. And right now we're waiting for fortify our border to be done. That won't take too long. Come on, a few more days. Just a few more days we have to wait, and then we'll move from there. We got that done now. Fortify our homeland. That will also take 35 days. Then we'll finish up this part of the focus tree by completing Reconvene Parliament. It says here, though, I have military factories. Whoops, fix that. Put some of those there. There we go. Beiyang government took 8 statesmen. Tetsu was the next. So basically, it sounds like that government secured Manchuria. But anyway, looking at this focus here, it says, through our pushing through reforms, the Austrian home front has been secured for the longer term. We have taken vigorous action to prove that our enemies are communists and nationalists rather than the workers and the people themselves. This is all said from the perspective of the Habsburg monarchy, of course. Although the cost has been great in some respects, the foundations of our empire are stronger for it, even after the death of 2 Kaisers in such quick successions. Let our foes judge us by what further disasters we have prevented, if we are to listen to their chattering at all. And now some more ended in Korea. Here's a new division. Good. Give our commanders leader traits. What can I even give you? Guerrilla fighter. Yeah, give Erland Rommel guerrilla fighter. New division. Yay. And the focus tree. Now let's start doing Reconvene Parliament. This will take only 35 days, as every other focus in this part of the Austrian Empire tree has. It says here, the Empire endures. While nothing can erase the stain of the last Kaiser's death, it appears that we have survived upheaval of it. The disruptions to the entrenched nobility have allowed us to push through some much-needed reforms and streamline politics through the elimination of the questionably loyal opposition. It's time for us to signal a return to orderly business and bring the Imperial Council back into session. After all, there is much work to be done. And let me go to the research tree, start doing construction 2, yes. There's a war is Ukraine won the world? Ukraine is fighting everyone that was in the Intermarium. Why? They're outnumbered so bad there. They're being aided by Yugoslavia, though, which is interesting. Don't know why they think that'd be a good idea, but they're doing it. Now let's modify our officer corps. What can we do here? I don't know. Go with, say, commando? That guy? Sure. Oh, let me read this. It says here, one more session. The Reichstag meets again to summarize the emergency decisions made by His Majesty's government. Adolf Pozol's rhetoric dominates the council. He's calling for more reforms. The leader of the AHVP is urging the Kaiser to reassess the composition of his government. He puts forward the idea of including a representative of the workers' unions in the ministerial council. As he says, the protests have shown that the voice of the Austrian people needs to be heard, that only a patriotic worker platform can save the people and the country from turning to communism. This idea was protested again by Ludwig von Mises, who calls it a populist power ploy by Pozol. According to Mises, a minister associated with the AHVP will serve nothing but furthering their own goals. He argues that the current government is enough to keep stability, and letting in potential wreckers would only worsen the situation. The final decision remains in the hands of the Kaiser. Will we favor Pozol or Mises? Let's go with Pozol's plan. Pozol's plan is sound. We'll reshuffle our cabinet. And that is that. So, Ukraine, they've already lost a good portion of the northwestern part of their country. And we have a reference to, I think, a Nazi propaganda film, Triumph of the Will. And so I call upon you men, and what is this about? And so I call upon you men of bravery, stand stalwart against hatred. Do not let the forces of nationalism rip our empire asunder. Ludwig von Mises was nearly out of breath, finishing off a speech before the assembled Reichsrat, or at least what was left of it. Truth be told, the Austrian halls of power were empty, and though Mises knew not why, he had reason to fear the disappearance of a large number of deputies. Mises sucked in air, ready to give his speech, the big send-off. Therefore, gentlemen, let us reject Pozol, let us reject Germanism, which I think is a reference. It's relating to pan-Germanic ambitions, which in this playthrough, I guess, Pozol will want to try and unify Austria and Germany in some way. And most of all, let us reject anything that stands against Mises' sentence trailed off. As the sound had begun to form outside the doors of the Reichstag, at first it sounded like a murmur, but by now it was like an earthquake, ready to tear the world in twain. What was it? Humming? Buzzing? No, it was singing. The doors to the Imperial Parliament were kicked open, and the members of GSS flooded in. German tricolors in hand, Mises' jaw dropped in shock. This could not be happening. This simply was not real. His eyes, frozen in fear, found themselves locked with the crystalline pupils of Pozol, arm in arm with the leaders of the other parties, all singing the Deutschlandlied, which is an anthem, I think, of Germany. The gaze was quickly broke with a punch to Mises' skull, and two uniformed men dragged him away from the podium. In his place stood Pozol, clearing his throat after the musical number. Germans, today the Providence has cast her favor upon us. Today, Jesus marches along in our ranks, casting off the shackles forged by the Habsburg den of vipers. Today, okay, so basically he's making a lot of biblical references here, and that is that. So Mises is gone. He seems to be disposed of in very dramatic fashion. Now in the focus tree, what must be done? Complete this here, and this is something. Goodbye, you most pestilent of institutions. Farewell, you. Okay, so basically, the Habsburgs are going to be gone. Yeah, they're going to be gone completely from the Austrian Empire, and the AHVP will establish power once this focus is done. And like I've said before, I believe the way the Hitler path in this mod works is that he's a conservative nationalist. Well, he's a nationalist who is very pro-Catholic and very pan-Germanic. So he wants to unify Germany and Austria in some way. Honestly, he reminds me a little bit of fascist Austria in our timeline, a little bit, slightly. I think. But anyway, let's wait for this to be done here. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. Go, 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 go. There we are. So Adolf Pozol is now in charge of the nation. Historically, Adolf Pozol was known as Adolf Hitler in our timeline. He was the notorious leader of Nazi Germany. For whatever reason, in the Red Flood timeline, he has the maiden name of his mother, Clara Pozol. With that said, I'm going to end part 3 of my Austrian Empire Hitler Path playthrough in Red Flood here.